Hello, my name is Thomas with Digital Technologies, and today we are going to talk about the differences between a VSSL audio streaming system and an Elan-based audio streaming system. So first, right off the bat, the first thing people are going to ask, well, which one's worth the money? The Elan system is going to be a little bit more expensive. It requires an Elan controller. If you don't already have one in your house, it's going to require an amplifier that only starts off with 8 outputs. So if you want 9 outputs, you got to get 16 outputs to get your 9, and that's not cheap, and you have to have a media player. Now the media player can be a 1-stream output, 2-stream output, or a 4-stream output. The VSSL system, one of the nice things that you can use the VSSL system is if you're just doing the absolute simplest thing you can, Apple phone, using AirPlay, and playing out to a room, the VSSL system is going to be the easiest and cheapest, hands down. Now to elaborate just a little bit on that, let's look at the VSSL system. So if we're taking a look at the VSSL system, you don't technically have to use an app to use it. If you have an Apple phone, it's going to be the easiest. It's a bit more complicated with Android because you have to set each of the rooms up as individual Google Cast, whereas the rooms out of the box are already set up for AirPlay. And they also have AirPlay too, which means I can select 1 room, 2 rooms, 3 rooms, or every room on my system in party mode, just by simply going to my app that I want to play. So I'm going to play Spotify music. I hit my play button, I'm playing music. I can either use the button in the lower left-hand corner, or in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, I can drop it down to my heads-up display area. And just below my battery power and my battery percentage, I've got my playback area. And in the upper corner of that playback area is the triangle with the semicircles. That's the AirPlay button. If I press that, I get this pop-up. It's the exact same pop-up I would get in any app, whether it's Spotify, Pandora, or whatever app I'm in, if I go to the AirPlay section. So I can go to the AirPlay section, and it's going to tell me I've got my lobby, I've got my shop, and I've got Wade's office. We have a VSSL 3 output, and those are my 3 outputs. I can select 1 of the rooms, 2 of the rooms, or all 3 of the rooms in any order, and start playing music, and music comes out of it. Now, if I want a VSSL and that's all I want to do, that's going to be the easiest, that's going to be the cheapest, hands down. However, the VSSL does have physical inputs for like CD players or something like that, and it does get a bit more complicated. And what that looks like is I can actually come into the VSSL app, and I've got all my zones. If I've got a 1, I've got 1. If I've got a 6, I've got 6, so whatever. If I've got my CD player plugged into the back of my actual VSSL system, I can come into the VSSL app, and using the little input button at the bottom of each of the volume bars, I can come in and select. You'll notice on the left side, it's going to change that from 1 to 2 on shop, and I'll go back to input 1. Whatever's physically plugged in there, I can now go and play music on that vinyl record player or that CD player, and music will come out. I can also use the VSSL app, if necessary, when I'm in party mode. If I'm airplaying to every single speaker in the building, I can change my volumes as such. Okay, so that gets a little bit more complicated, but not enough to break our brains. Okay, that's simple. I don't have any kind of control of that record player, although most record players you have to physically turn on and physically do anyway, so not a big deal. CD players can be a little smarter. I can load it with 6 CDs, and I can use remote control, but I don't have any kind of way of making the VSSL player utilize that remote control. Now, when we get into the Elan system, I can take things that are a little bit more complicated like that, and I can put it all into one app. So the benefit of the Elan system is that, let's say I listen to just a couple of different apps, I can have them built into this app. So I'm looking at an Elan system right now, and I'm going to come back to my main Elan screen. This particular house has a security system in it as well. But I can come into my media, and there's all the rooms that my amplifier is connected to. Lower patio is one of those rooms. I can open the lower patio, and I'm just going to turn it off for a second. In that lower patio for this particular house, I've got a couple of video sources and just the one audio source. I can choose that one audio source, and I can see that I've got some apps that I don't have to jump to another app. I can use the app right from within the Elan ecosystem. So I'm one app, and I'm controlling everything at this point. I don't have to jump between different apps. I don't have to jump between different players. Everything is all built within Elan. Now, to a certain point, I have Amazon Music, Pandora, Sirius, Spotify, and TuneIn Radio are the apps available to this particular client system. I do have some other built-in native use apps such as radio.com, Tidal, and there's a couple of other ones in there. Now, we do have the ability to do Apple Music, but it's an additional purchase on top of everything you need to get this far. That being said, the player streams also have AirPlay, just like the Vessel does. So I could come in and at this point not choose an app, but it's on. I've got my volume, I've got my mute, I've got everything in there. And then I could just go out and I could play Apple Music and I could AirPlay to that player one. I could do that just the same as I could the Vessel with a few more button strokes. If I happen to have an app that I wanted to AirPlay, it does give me that option. However, if you want simplicity with complex systems, I could also have a CD player plugged into this, and that CD player has 6 CDs in it, and I happen to know that the first one is Michael Bublé, the second one is Greatest Christmas Hits, the third one is Rock and Roll All-Timers, whatever. And I could literally turn on my CD player, as long as it's a certain CD player that gives me that ability, and most modern ones do. I won't have any playback as to which track is playing on which CD and which track and et cetera, et cetera. But I have a 1 through 6. If it's a 6 CD player, if I hit 1, I'm playing CD 1. If I hit track 15, I'm playing track 15 of CD 1. I did not have to physically get out of my chair, go to that CD player, hit the 1 button on that unit, hit the next track button, and then walk away. And then if I want to change tracks, I got to walk back into that room. I can do it all from the Elan system. Now, that's not to say that that's something that you necessarily care about or need, but if that need is available, I would have to do it with an Elan system because my master Elan control can control all sorts of things, including the amp, and including the player, and including the CD player. So I have multiple separate devices that the one Elan is controlling, and we see it right here within the one app. So I can have everything built in, and that's why I can say the Vessel system is significantly easier to use in some cases, but I can take very complicated things and make them super easy to use with the Elan system. So that would kind of be the takeaway as to a client asked me, well, what's easier and what's cheaper? Well, to answer that question with no context, the Vessel is cheaper to a certain point. If I get a lot of zones, then the Vessel is actually more expensive than the Elan option. If I have fewer zones and all I want to do is AirPlay or Google Cast to 1 or 2 rooms at a time, the Vessel is your option. If you want to take multiple inputs, multiple CD player streamers, multiple CD players, internet streams, AirPlay it, everything, and built it into one easy-to-use app, and you want control from one spot without having to go anywhere else, then the Elan would definitely be your better bet. So I hope that helps you, and if you have any questions, please give us a call.